So today, we're tackling one of the most famous and maybe the most deeply misunderstood moments in all of philosophy, Friedrich Nietzsche's parable of the madman. We're going to get into what he really meant by that terrifying phrase, the death of God.
It all kicks off with this scene. A man holding a lit lantern in the middle of a bright morning runs into a busy marketplace, shouting desperately for God. But this isn't a story about finding faith. Now, it's something way, way darker.
Okay, let's just get this one thing straight right out of the gate. When Nietzsche announces the death of God, he is absolutely not celebrating. He's not throwing a party for atheism. He is sounding an alarm, a massive, world-shattering alarm about a crisis he saw coming for all of Western civilization.
And to really get what he's warning us about, you have to picture the scene. It's all about this confrontation between the madman and the crowd he's just barged in on.
The contrast here is just stark. You've got the madman who isn't really crazy at all. He's more like a prophet who sees the future so clearly it looks like insanity to everyone else. He gets the terrifying truth. And then you have the crowd. They represent us, modern people busy with our lives, many of whom don't believe anymore. And what do? They laugh at him, totally clueless that the very foundation of their world is about to crumble. And that brings us to the madman's bombshell announcement, the line that changes everything.
This is so crucial. The death of God is not a literal event. For Nietzsche, God was a symbol for the entire foundation of Western culture, the belief in objective truth, in universal morality, in a reality that had a purpose. He's saying that entire system, it's collapsed.
The madman doesn't say this like it's a theory. He says it like it's a fact, like a doctor announcing a time of death. The thing that held our world together is gone, and it is not coming back.
And get this, it wasn't some natural cause. The madman points the finger at everyone, at modern humanity. He says, we did this. But how? How do you murder God?
Well, it wasn't a single event. It was this slow, grinding process. The ironic thing for Nietzsche is that the very values that Christianity taught, like the absolute importance of truth, led to the Enlightenment and the rise of science. And that commitment to reason and scientific inquiry eventually just made the whole religious worldview unbelievable. We essentially thought our way into a universe without God. We were his murderers, but we didn't even realize we were holding a weapon.
So, God is dead. What happens now? Well, this is where the sheer terror of the madman's vision really unfolds. He paints this picture of humanity just lost in the cosmos.
He starts asking these wild, impossible questions. They're meant to show us the sheer scale of what we've done. It's like we've tried to drink the entire ocean. We've erased the very context of our existence. Think about that. The horizon is what gives you a sense of direction, a frame of reference. The madman says we've taken a sponge and just wiped the whole thing away. There are no landmarks left.
Without that divine reference point, without a cosmic moral compass, what's right? What's wrong? Is there even an up to strive for anymore? It's a complete collapse of moral orientation. And this is the result. This is the vertigo. We're not orbiting a sun anymore. We're just falling, plunging through a cold, dark, endless void with no direction at all. This feeling, this horror of being lost in an infinite nothing, actually has a name. It's called nihilism. And this is the great plague that Nietzsche saw on the horizon. The moment we truly realize our values have no divine backing, we risk falling into the abyss, believing that nothing matters at all.
But here's the thing. Nietzsche isn't just a prophet of doom. He doesn't leave us in despair. This whole parable is actually a profound challenge. If we're the ones who killed God, what do we do next?
And this is maybe the most radical question of all. The madman asks, since we committed the greatest deed in history, don't we now have to become gods ourselves? Don't we have to take on the awesome responsibility of creating meaning and values from scratch? And Nietzsche basically lays out two paths for humanity. One is the path of what he calls the tarantulas. They're the people who, out of resentment, want to level everything, to enforce an equality that drags everyone down and creates a safe but totally mediocre world. The other path is that of the Übermensch, the overman. This is the path that embraces the struggle, that sees greatness in overcoming, that challenges humanity to constantly create and reach for something more, to become its own source of meaning.
But the crowd in the marketplace, they're not ready to choose a path. They don't even understand the problem yet. And this is the moment the madman realizes he's a prophet whose words have fallen on deaf ears.
He looks at their blank, confused faces and realizes they just don't get it. Not at all. So he smashes his lantern on the ground. He understands his warning has arrived centuries too soon.
Nietzsche's idea here is incredible. He's saying the deed of killing God is already done, but the full, earth-shattering consequences of that deed are still traveling toward us. It's like the light from a distant star that has already died. We can still see the light, but the star is long gone. We've done the deed, but we haven't started to feel the cold yet.
And as his final, chilling act, the madman says he's going to the churches, not to pray but to mark them for what they've become, empty monuments, just tombs and sepulchres for a God that no one in the marketplace really believes in anymore.
It's been over a century, closer to 200 years since Nietzsche wrote this. Many people look back and say he basically predicted the chaos of the 20th century, the world wars, the totalitarian ideologies, as the first brutal shockwaves from the death of God.
Which, of course, brings us to right here, right now. In our own time, as we wrestle with division and a search for shared purpose, you have to ask yourself, are we finally the people who are ready to hear the madman's warning? Has his time finally, truly arrived?